Alright guys, let's talk about the governor. Leave it alone. Don't mess with it. I'm telling you, just if you're gonna go with a Harbor Freight or a live fan or what I'm classifying as a utility motor, leave the governor alone. Don't mess with it. Leave the oil thingy alone. Don't mess with it. Here's why. These utility motors are designed to be high torque motors, somewhat more so than high speed motors, quote unquote. When I say high speed, I'm talking about the RPM. These things max out about 3,800 RPM, then the governor kicks in. You know, if you want to have a motor that's going to be rotating far closer to about 6,000 RPM, you need to get a racing motor. You need to buy a racing motor, as we talk about next in the probably in the engine selection phase. So, if you want to run a motor that's stock like this one, straight out of the box, and that has a governor on it, leave the governor alone. It's there for your safety, so that the motor doesn't spin up, because this whole thing could the whole motor could fly apart. Yeah, you can go inside and change the interior components so it can handle it, but at that point you're better off just buying the racing motor out and out, and you can get more horsepower through the increased RPMs that way. And that's what I would recommend you do. But for now, I leave the governor alone, and what I will do is I'll show you how we modify this throttle stop here, and that'll help you get some more horsepower there. Alright, let's go jump onto that. Leave the governor alone. If you want to run a high RPM motor, get a racing motor, like what the big yellow box style racing motor. So let's it's really cold out here, so I'm having to shoot some of these videos out here to finish up the course, and so let's get back inside and warmed up. Let's move on. Okay, so engine selection, you basically have two choices. You can use a utility engine or a true racing engine. Now, the utility engines are the most common that people use, and it is what I recommend if this is your first mud motor build. Basically, you can go to Harbor Freight, you can go to even Lowe's, you can go to just about anywhere where they sell replacement engines that you would, this is basically a 6.5 horsepower. This is a 212cc motor. Most of the ones here around 196 cc's, some up to about 212 cc's, and this would be used on like a snow blower to replace a snow blower motor or a generator motor, something like that. Briggs & Stratton has like a 5-horse motor like this, and there's a bunch of different options. I would recommend you just go to, if you just want a basic motor, I'd recommend you go to Harbor Freight and just get you one of the Predator engines, 6.5 horse, and depending on what horsepower you want, they have them in various horsepower levels, from 3 horsepower on up to about 23 horsepower, just depending on what you want. You can go whatever you want. Now, the thing about it is that you can greatly upgrade these motors and to get a lot more power out of them, which is exactly what you're trying to do here. So one of these in the 6.5 horse model, it's kind of cold out here, so I'm trying to wrap this up real quick. It will run you about $100 with the Harbor Freight with the 20% discount coupon. Another option is to buy a racing engine. They're basically a very similar engine, except it doesn't come with a fuel tank or an exhaust, and it remove a lot of the unneeded components on it, and it's really designed to be a high revving racing engine specifically for go-kart racing. If you go to somewhere like OMB or Warehouse, look up performance parts and look up actual engines, you'll find an engine like this that comes 6.5 horse in the utility version. In the racing engine will come in about 8 to 8.5 horsepower, and then you can be doing modifications to that. So if you're really wanting some really strong sort of speed demon Evel Knievel deal, get you a racing engine. But if you want a low-cost, economical version, go ahead and get the Predator engines and go from there. And so that's really what you want to consider for engine selection. Are you looking for the utility? The utility engines come ready to go straight out from the thing. Whereas if you buy the racing engine, it's just like building up a 350 small block. It's not a complete engine. You're going to have to add all kinds of things to it to get it up and running. And so for your first engine, I would recommend a utility engine. And then from there, if you just want to be adventurous, go ahead and buy you one of the big box stock type engines for go-kart racing, and you can add special components that you've already modified from this onto the new motor. And now that the wind's kicking up, we're going back in the house because it is miserably cold out here today. As you can see, the ice here completely frozen in the boat. And there you go. That's what you need to know for engine selection.